Okay, ready? I'd like to call to order the meeting of the Glendora City Council for Tuesday, February 28th, 2023 at 6:00 PM. For the audience here tonight, our city council utilizes a hybrid meeting format to allow for participation both in person and virtually. In consideration of others, please silence your phones and electronic devices. And again, this is a public meeting for the city of Glendora, and we appreciate everyone's cooperation. Let the record show that all council members are here and accounted for. And at this point, I would like to ask the city manager or the city attorney to read us into closed session.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of the council, and any who may be participating in this meeting virtually or in person. City Council has one item on its closed session agenda. The authority to meet in closed session is Government Code Section 54956.8. There will be a discussion about the disposition of certain real property whose common street address is 1762 Dale Road. The assessor parcel number for this property is printed in the closed session agenda, and the council will be discussing price and terms of payment for the property. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, thank you. With that, I will go ahead and open public comment. I don't see anybody in the chambers wishing to speak on public comment. Is there anyone on Zoom wishing to speak?
I don't have any participants on Zoom and I don't have any emails.
Okay, with that, I will close public comment and I will adjourn us into closed session. Recess us into closed session. I'd like to reconvene our open session at 7 PM. And ask the city attorney to read us out of closed session.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of the council, ladies and gentlemen, visiting with us in person or virtually. The city council met in closed session tonight to talk about the disposition of property whose common street address is 1762 Dale Road. The assessor parcel number for this property is printed in the closed session agenda. The city council received a privileged and confidential status briefing from city staff. Questions were asked and answered. No reportable action was taken. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Okay, with that, if everybody would like to invite member Kendall Merkley from the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints to lead us in invocation, followed by Hillary Chrisley to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Please rise. Yeah.
Our Heavenly Father, we're grateful for the chance we have to gather here, a few of thy sons and daughters. We're grateful for this wonderful land of liberty and freedom that we have, and particularly this wonderful community that we have to live in. We're grateful for these wonderful public servants who are here this night to help us to conduct the business of this city. We're grateful for those who have come to listen and to share thoughts, and ask for that blessing that each of us will listen and learn and be able to come to appropriate resolution of matters and make decisions that are in accordance with thy mind and will. We're grateful for the rain, Father, for those who have been blessed by it. We pray for those who have been affected by it in other ways, and hope that we can be able to help them to recover. We ask for that blessing of continued peace on this land, and particularly in our city. Please help us with understanding and with love and peace in our hearts. Pray at the end of this evening that we'll be able to return to our homes and find all well there. And we say these things in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Please remain standing as you are able, placing your right hand over your heart, and say the Pledge of Allegiance with me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, next on the agenda, we have our presentations from the high school student representatives. Let's start with Glendora High School, Lavana Chen. Is Lavana here? Okay, maybe she'll join us in a minute. How about Charter Oak High School, Vivian Salazar? Welcome, Vivian.
Good evening, Mayor and members of the Glendora City Council. Thank you for this opportunity to share the amazing things that are happening at Charter Oak High School. I am pleased to share the Charter Oak's AVID program was awarded a statewide distinction for demonstration of college readiness. Winter sports are also continuing at Charter Oak. Today, our varsity baseball team faces a home game against Santa Fe High School. On February 10th, Charter Oak hosted Sadie's. Students enjoyed fun music, carnival-like activities, and dressing up as cowboys to follow the rodeo theme. To celebrate Valentine's Day, students literally stole each other's hearts by participating in the annual activity where students steal paper hearts from one another. On February 16th, CO's counseling team hosted their third FAFSA workshop. This is a great resource offered to parents and students to assist seniors with financial aid. On February 24th, to celebrate Black History Month, Charter Oak's BSU Club hosted a step show at lunchtime as well as a movie showing after school. Thank you for your time today.
Okay, thank you, Viviana. Next up from Whitcomb High School, Desiree Pimentel and Josh Mendel. No? Okay, how about St. Louis? St. Lucy's. No, St. Louis isn't playing tonight. St. Lucy's. I've got Olivia Risk and Alexa Straight. Okay, good. You can both go up.
Yes,
Welcome, guys.
thank you. Good evening, Mr. Mayor and esteemed City Council members. We are delighted to give a report tonight on the month of February at St. Lucy's Priory High School. Throughout the first week, we celebrated Catholic Schools Week. Each day, students learned more about and highlighted different aspects of our school. We had Religious Leaders Appreciation Day, as well as parents, students, teachers and staff, and finally, our community. We also celebrated the 59th anniversary of the blessing and dedication of our school on February 2nd. As a senior, it was a wonderful opportunity for me to reflect on the gift of a Catholic education and the impact that it has had on my life. The feast day of Saint Scholastica, who's the twin of Saint Benedict, the founder of our Benedictine spirituality, was celebrated on February 10th. Students came together and prayed in her name that morning to honor our many traditions and roots. On Valentine's Day, the 14th, students wore red, pink, and white and received their Valentine's Day grams from our tri-school community. We also reflected on Saint Valentine's life and how grateful we all are to be surrounded by the many friends and family who love us unconditionally. The evening of February 17th was our tri-school's carnival-themed Sadie's Dance. It was held on campus and was a blast, especially for the freshmen and sophomores, as it was their last dance of the school year. Prom will be on Sunday, March 19th at the Disneyland Hotel for juniors and seniors only. It is Princess and the Frog themed, and we cannot wait to see if all of our dreams really do come true down in the bayou. Tragically, on Saturday, February 18th, our beloved Bishop O'Connell died unexpectedly. He was our bishop for the San Gabriel region and a dear and beloved friend to all of us. He even came to our school recently to celebrate our All Saints' Day Mass. We gathered for a prayer service that following Tuesday to honor his life and ministry. On February 22nd, we had our Ash Wednesday Mass in the gym. Students received their ashes, symbolizing penance and humility, as we embarked on our 40-day Lenten season of prayer, fasting, and almsgiving. Our winter sports of basketball, soccer, and water polo finished their season, and we celebrated those Regent athletes and all of their accomplishments at our winter sports rally. The spring sports of track and field, softball, and swim and dive are also currently underway. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Appreciate you being here. Okay, with that, we'll move on to the agenda. Does anyone wish to reorder the agenda? Make any additions? Nope. Okay, then I will open public comment. Invite members of the public to address the city council. Speakers are limited to 3 minutes, speaking once on both on and off agenda items. If you're in attendance, make sure you fill out one of the yellow cards. You can get them from Kathleen up here and return them to her and we'll get you in the queue. If you're participating via Zoom, select the raised hand icon in Zoom before the close of the public comment period. Once recognized, you'll be unmuted and state your name and subject matter you wish to discuss. Okay, we'll start with the people that are here in person, starting with Ashley Rosati. Hey, how you doing?
Hi, good evening, Mayor, staff, council, members of the community. My name is Ashley Rosati Kaiser, and I'm the Government Affairs Director at Athens Services. And I just wanted to pop in and kind of give you a little bit of a summary of what we accomplished last year. As you know, we transitioned the city from a manual hand toss service to a fully automated service in December. That was including the deployment of over 44,000 carts. And I would like to say out of all the transitions that I've done at my 5 years, there's been several that Glendora was a success. It was very seamless. I'd also like to share that I was with my operations staff today, and they were just raving about how traditionally when we see these transitions happen and customers have, source separated containers, how it takes a bit of time for them to start getting the hang of things and putting the right material in the right container. but Glendora's community has really taken to the challenge and has risen to the occasion and are doing a fantastic job at making sure that each stream is clean and the appropriate material is going in the appropriate container. So we just like to acknowledge their efforts on that as well. We added some beautification services in the village, which include daily collection of the city cans there and quarterly pressure washing. We collected over 41,000 pounds of HHW waste, household hazardous waste. We collected for recyclables over 1,800 tons, 3,900 tons of organic waste, and 2,100 tons of refuse, your trash. We collected 460 Christmas trees at the curb this year, which were diverted and sent to our compost facility in Victorville. We also provided the city with 40 tons of compost for community use. And we provided over 200 yards of mulch, which were donated to the Public Works Department and were used at various facilities throughout the city. A couple more things. We did several community engagement to get the word out about SB 1383, which include visiting different service groups, whether it was Kiwanis Rotary, the Legislative Action Committee, the Ministerial Association, schools, where we had Rocky the Raccoon, our fun mascot that went out and talked about recycling, and then community events where we also provided in-kind services, where there was, event boxes or trash as well. We do have upcoming compost giveaway in April and an HH drop-off collection event. So thank you so much for the opportunity to give a quick little update on the things that we're doing. We appreciate staff support and the community support for properly recycling. And we look forward to Earth Day and the coming spring months, which are our busy season. So thank you.
Okay, thank you, Ashley. Next up, Bob Moore.
Good evening. In 2013, the Real Department of Housing and Urban Development released a report to the Obama administration depicting that for $78 billion, we could eliminate homelessness and poverty in America. Today, that number must be at least 3 times that, yet your platform presented a graph reaching to the sky that so much money, $8 billion, is spent on the unhoused with no perceivable improvement. This is disinformation. It's misleading, a lie, propaganda. It's not good stuff. In 2013, 78 billion was needed, so 8 billion is just a drop in the bucket. And the problem has gotten much more exponentially worse. So when your platform launches into bigoted vitriol, calling the unhoused a litany of stereotypes, including human traffickers, this is visceral hatred. It's hate speech by your platform. Human trafficking takes resources and networking. For the unhoused, they don't even have enough money to purchase toiletries. And every day is a fight for their survival. However, the largest human trafficking event in human history was the slave trade of the 1800s, where tens of millions of Africans were forcibly enslaved by white plantation owners. Millions of Africans died because of this. I learned this from being taught history right here in Glendora, because history is the truth and the truth are facts, which is why we must always teach history. So if you're looking for solutions, they require facts. And the facts are 44 million Americans are in the process of eviction or facing eviction right now. This includes Glendora residents. We're not exempt. 64% of, or 2/3 of American households live paycheck to paycheck. At any time, they fall through the system and land on the sidewalk. We have a very porous and insufficient social safety net. We have an affordability crisis in housing throughout America because we commoditize it for profit, but housing is a human right. Between 50 and 74% of the unhoused work. Poverty, income inequality, the worst in the nation's history, and capitalism are the causes of homelessness. Climate change as well, as this has dislocated millions of people. However, this is caused by global capitalism. What we have here is a lack of diversity. People, opinions, plurality of viewpoints, all missing from the city government. We have instead ethnocentricity, monolithic approaches to problems of the 21st century based upon hegemonic Eurocentricity, aka racial dominance. Today, 56% of Glendora's population is non-white. 2/3 of its student body are non-white. 3/4 of the Los Angeles County population are non-white. We have taxation without representation. 56% of the residents want to have a voting say on who gets platformed and how we spend our funds. I want my city government to look like the city. All of the neighboring cities give 5 minutes for comment. You can do the same. Thank you for listening. Buenas noches al gobernador de la Ciudad de Glendora.
Thank you, Bob. Up next, Erica Landman. Good evening, Erica.
Hi, I'm Erica Landman, and I'm here for a few various reasons. First thing is the Great Trivia Challenge benefiting the library will be March 10th. So I saw Director Stone there. So nice. I just wanted to mention that. And I hope everybody would consider attending. There's also the In-N-Out track. Everybody loves In-N-Out, and plus there's a fun evening. Also, I want to really thank the city for the work that you've done up in the South Hills Wilderness Park. It's absolutely beautiful. And I really appreciate like all the upgrades that you've done. So now I'm taking our new little puppy up there, and so I'm back, and so it's very exciting. So it's beautiful. A lot of pollen though. Great storm. And also I wanted to mention that there's a teacher from Cullen Elementary. He recently passed away. His name's Fred McGehee, and his viewing is March 16th, and then the funeral is March 17th. Just in case, I know a lot of people are familiar with Fred McGehee from Cullen. So, okay. I'm also here because I'm very excited about the possibility for the antique streetlights to possibly be turned back on. And so I know that the people in the area, they're voting, or they're going to be voting and deciding if they want to support, I don't know, I will call it a tax, but anybody who has a street light automatically has to pay to run those lights anyway. But it would be so amazing if those lights could get turned back on. I've lived here for 42 years, and it's not very often that there's an opportunity to actually save a historic feature that I have not seen operating for quite some time. So I hope everybody would consider supporting that, the little, I don't know, I would hate calling it a tax, but the little fee, the levy, I don't know. But that's very exciting. So I'll be watching for that. So I'm rooting for the antique historic streetlights to turn back on. And also I know this is not Glendora's district, but on Arrow Highway, the campers there are some campers that people are concerned with. I'm concerned with too, because they have the pop out off to the side. And so like a couple of days when I'm driving down Bonnie Cove, they actually have the popped out sides, and it's quite a hazard. And I hope nobody hits that area at nighttime, because that could be a catastrophe. Sometimes it's on Bonnie Cove, but it is on Arrow too. So just worried about the occupants' safety.
Okay, thank you, Erica. Next up, we got Crystal Wadado, and is it Jehan Fernanda? Okay, great. Welcome tonight.
Thank you.
Good evening, councilmen and councilwomen. My name is Crystal Wadado, and I am a senior at Glendora High School. I moved to Glendora from Azusa around 2008, and I've been attending GUSD school since kindergarten.
Hello, my name is Jehan Fernando. I've also attended La Fecha Elementary and then Sandburg, and I'm now a junior at Glendora High School. Crystal and I are part of Glendora Together, which is a coalition of students and residents organizing events that encourage thoughtful dialogue within Glendora's diverse community.
While I'm grateful for many of the friends and amazing teachers that I've made and I've befriended in the city, my community has also hurt me in many ways. As I am now entering the senior year of my as I'm now entering the final months of my senior year, I apologize. I still hold memories of my traditional Chinese porridge being poked and prodded by peers at Cullen Elementary School, my queerness being invalidated in the hallways of Goddard Middle School, and seeing my Glendora High School peers spread xenophobic rhetoric about the Chinese virus?
Yeah, kind of similarly talking about some of my experiences around especially race within Glendora schools. As I began attending Glendora High School, I was often met with unsettling comments about attending Sandburg. Sandburg is often described as a ghetto school, and Sandburg comments against Sandburg often carry distinctly racial overtones. And microaggressions within Glendora are often embedded within our educational system.
But we hope to remind everyone here that microaggressions and what we're sharing isn't just an individual issue. We've seen our peers get microaggressed in front of us at school, and we hear our parents get asked to go back to their country at the Vons right down the street. This is an intergenerational issue that residents of this city have experienced for decades, and an issue that will only continue to happen if we don't change as a community.
But microaggressions are often not intended to be hurtful. They're often the cause or caused by ignorance or misunderstanding. But we cannot deny that their existence within this community and the impact that it's had on its members. And we're all capable of learning and growing together to build a better Glendora. And through the event that is being held this Saturday that Crystal will kind of expand on more, we really hope to facilitate dialogue and kind of amplify lived experience and not generate polarization.
So in order to better serve our community, we strongly believe that our public servants, like the lovely members here, it's better to be shown this necessary perspective. So we invite everyone here to join Glendora Together's first event this Saturday, March 4th from 4 to 6 p.m. at the American Legion building near Finkbeiner Park. Our keynote speaker, former president of the San Gabriel Valley NAACP, TJ Campbell, and University of LaFern professor and attorney Thomas Allison, and a panel of students and residents will share their experiences at this event. We invite you, Glendora City Council, and the rest of the audience to join us in building a better Glendora. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it. Okay, do we have anybody else in the audience wishing to speak at public comment? Okay, do we have anyone on Zoom?
Yes, if you would like to speak and you're on Zoom, if you can please click on the raised hand icon. I have none and I have no emails.
Okay, thank you. Then I'll go ahead and close public comment and bring it back to the council for council statements. Who wants to go first? Erin?
Thank you. Olivia mentioned Bishop O'Connell, and I would just echo the sentiment that we lost a great servant. I had the privilege of working with Bishop O'Connell, and he truly had a servant's heart and was often in Glendora helping with the cold weather shelter and with the East San Gabriel Valley Coalition for the Homeless. On March 3rd at 10 a.m., we invite you to come and be part of a public art launch that is taking place at 300 North Glendora Avenue. And then, as Jehan and Crystal mentioned, invite you to come March 4th to the event at the Legion building. It will be an opportunity for all of us to learn and to talk together and grow from that experience so that we can continue to build community and be a better community together. And then March 10th and March 12th, Empty Bowls and the Crop Walk, another way for us to build community as we work together to meet the needs of those who are facing food insecurity. So invite you to both of those events. Thank you.
Okay, Mendel.
Thank you. And haven't we all enjoyed rain and a little bit of snow? But I also want to say thank you. And I think that we would all embrace this, that when we're home asleep and hopefully warm, there are people out there responding and keeping us safe. Police, fire. And I just want to say thank you, guys. The women, the men that embrace that job. When the power goes out, when a tree falls, water comes in an unexpected way, you all are, there. And I just want to say thank you and appreciate the long hours and the cold and the wet that you endure. So thank you. And I just want to express that. I also wanted to say thank you for all of the goal line staff. As all of you know, there's been a lot of dirt, which turns into mud when it rains. And they have done a exceptional job in making sure that that is not where it's not supposed to, be. It's contained. It doesn't go into the sewers. It's kept in a, safe way. And I just want to say thank you to each one of, them for the just amazing job that they have done. You also may have seen some work being done on the bridge on 66. What is happening there is that the lead paint is being taken off because that bridge is going to have a new paint job. I don't know how long it's been. Karen, you've probably been here the longest. It probably hasn't been painted for 35, 40 years, maybe at least that long.
I think at least that long. Yes,
you
it's been
know.
touched up a few times here and there,
Yeah.
but the whole thing, no.
So they are doing that, and then it's going to be redone. It's going to be really nice. And so just wanted you to know that is what's going on there. Thank you.
Thanks, Michael.
Thank you, Gary. To Erica's question about Arrow Highway and the parking out there, the county released a frequently asked questions that can be circulated around about what's going on over there, as the county and some of the cities, Covina, are responsible for, same with Azusa. And apparently over the summertime, they're going to do a study on what's going on. There was a bike path that's also involved. So hopefully there'll be some resolution to that issue, that longstanding issue. And as we know, that Glendora doesn't start until the north side of the sidewalks over there. And so we have very little jurisdiction. So I know that David's been working with some of the other cities and trying to get some cooperation to get that addressed one way or another. And I know that our city has been doing really well with the homeless situation, providing beds and outreach and things of that nature, same with PD. So there is a solution out there, but we need some partners with the other cities as well as the county, because they are in control of that street. With that, Gary and I had attended a meeting Sunday night Sunday afternoon at 4 o'clock with California Alliance of Local Electeds. And they had invited the Attorney General, Rob Bonta. And the topic of the discussion was for our 8CD, which was our housing element, and basically the unfunded mandate to put those out there. It was attended by over 60 cities up and down the state of California. And to say it was contentious was probably about right. And it was challenging to have that discussion with this individual, particularly when he has a new group that he's coined, the Housing Strike Force, which basically will go after any city that does not meet their numbers. It was vague on that because all we do is we zone for housing. We don't build housing. And it was also discussed that the cities go out there and possibly go out and sell bonds to pay for low-income housing, which would raise taxes. And I don't think the residents would like that as well. Obviously, because of this is new legislation that was passed by the legislature, his main focus is enforcing that. So we're going to have some challenges, and they're not going to be looking at this in the whole 6-year time frame. It's going to be chunked up into, I believe, 2-year increments. They're going to look at to see how our progress is. If our progress is there, we're going to get a letter from the Attorney General and say you're not in compliance, and the harassment will start. Again, we don't build anything. We only zone for it. So again, another example of unfunded mandates and cities doing battle with the state of California. Thank you, Gary.
Okay, thank you, Michael. I would just like to mention, we all had the opportunity to join the school district or Glendora High School at the Teen Summit last Friday. And it's always pretty amazing to see the things that Glendora Unified does and Charter Oak does as well, many of the school districts, but to get the high schoolers outside of the school to come down to the teen center and partnered with the city on this, and they had the opportunity to learn things and discuss different things that go on outside of their regular learning at the high school. So we all talk about the fact that unfortunately high school doesn't teach us things like how to balance a checkbook. Of course, nobody uses checkbooks anymore, but the types of financial and day-to-day life events that we deal with as adults. And it's good to see the school doing that. And they've been doing it for a long time. I would like to, I didn't know Fred had passed away. I'd like to get more information, but just to mention, Fred's father was actually one of the original Glendorans who helped to build the Christmas star that's up at the top of Glendora Avenue. So his father, along with a group of 3 other guys here in town, actually built the original star. Most of what is still being used up there from the 1940s. So it's been there for a long time. So that's unfortunately, we lose too many good Glendorans on a regular basis. I would also like to ask that we adjourn the meeting tonight in memory of Beverly Colley. Bev was the patriarch of the Colley family. Her and her husband Fred have given a lot to the city of Glendora, as well as their extended family. They've raised, their children to mimic what they have done, and their kids have continued to stay involved. So I would like to adjourn tonight's meeting in memory of Bev. Okay, if there's nothing else, Adam, anything?
Just wanted to hop on the comments earlier about staff and thank our Public Works Department too. All of them came in on their day off to make sure the community was supported both during the day and in the evening. Happy to report that we held up pretty well with all the rain. We'll get exact rain totals here in the next couple days once this storm finishes up, and in about 10-15 days after that, we'll see some of the impacts on the basin as it starts to change too. So I'm really appreciative, as was said earlier, to the staff, both at the city and the county, for all their overtime work and ensuring that we were all safe. Thank you very much.
Bill, anything? Okay, appreciate it. We'll move on to the consent calendar. Items number 4 through 8. Items on the consent calendar will be enacted by one motion without individual discussion unless a council member would request it to be removed for separate discussion. Does anyone wish to pull any of the items?
I do not want to pull. I would just like to say a brief thought about item 6, if I could. I can say that right now. If you
Okay,
want.
go for it.
I just always want to let everybody know that a project that was we thought was going to be about $1.4 million actually came in at $1.3 million. We saved $119,843. So a tremendous job by our team, and citizens need to know that. And thank you.
Okay, thanks.
I'd
Anybody
like
else?
to make a comment on number 8, please.
Okay, I was actually gonna had a couple questions about number 8 as well.
And by all means, I'll wait for your time on that if you wish. Or
Okay, Karen, anything? No?
No, I've just made a motion to approve the consent calendar after you ask your questions and comments.
Okay, thank you. I believe, is somebody here to answer some questions on item number 8 on the Ocean Blue?
Evening, Council, Mr. Mayor.
Welcome. For me, questions I had is, first off, I was wondering, this talks about the South Hills cleanup. Was there any cleanup done over in the Amelia area where we've had some homeless encampments over in Amelia right along the freeway?
I think what you might be talking about is over on the south and north side of the 210 freeway, correct?
Yes.
I believe we did one there. Yeah, looks like we did one there in December of 2022, along with 11 others for that particular year.
Okay, I appreciate that. And then a general question. We've been dealing with this for a while, and I know you guys have been doing a great job in trying to get people into services and to help. Are we seeing any kind of a reduction in the response that we're having to make in these areas?
So over the past several years, beginning in about 2019, we've seen a steady increase in terms of total amount of use of Ocean Blue, both in frequency and in tonnage in terms of the amount of refuse that's been cleaned up. I would suspect that as we have gotten more of our unhoused population into services and out of the areas where they are camping, that usage might go down, but I think we'll probably know a little bit more about that as 2023 progresses.
Appreciate it. David?
yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. And while I applaud the services and certainly the ability to retain a quality company like Ocean Blue to do the unpleasant tasks, I'm going to approve this, but I object to having to. And the reason is I'd love to spend $150,000 on library funds or more pickleball recreation funds that serves the community and we get to use in a positive manner. And the fact that we're drawing this from general fund expenses bothers me. And the fact that we struggle to get recovery from state and county services. But they don't want to make it challenging or make it difficult for those campers to camp. No criticism of your efforts at all. And part of the staff report talks about 140 tons of trash removed in 3 years, 2.5 years. That's, I don't know. Somehow we can't just keep saying that's acceptable and bite the bullet and have to do that. We need to get leverage from other agencies in the region to own up to those services and help us do that. So I'd rather spend that big money on, staff needs or facility needs, anything that will serve the community that does positive things in the community. So thank you for that. Not trying to beat on you. And again, I will approve the motion. Thank you.
Those are questions. I don't know, do you have anything you wanted to add on the item or?
Just by way of a little bit of background for those that may not be completely familiar with Ocean Blue and our relationship with that particular company, we've been using them since about 2019. We use them for refuse cleanup, particularly those items which cannot be safely picked up and dealt with by our public works staff. They will deal with sharps, needles, things that are a little more hazardous for pickup for our city employees. We use them, like I said before, for, cleanup for our unhoused areas. We did 12 of those in the last year. They will also respond and do spot cleanups throughout the year at some of our areas where it becomes a necessity. I think we had about 6 of those in the last year or so. That's essentially what we use the company for.
Appreciate it. Thanks, Captain.
Thank you.
With that, we have a motion by Councilmember Davis and a second by Michael. Everyone would please vote.
So I'll conduct an oral roll call vote. Councilmember Ellis,
Yes.
Councilmember Davis,
Yes.
Councilmember Freendahl,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Thompson,
Yes.
Mayor Boyer,
Yes.
motion carries 5-0.
Okay, thank you. Next up, item number 9, unfinished business, accept report on COVID-19 emergency responses in the city of Glendora and adopt a resolution terminating the city's proclamation of local emergency related to COVID-19. Wow, has this been a long time coming?
It has.
Link assessment to report.
It has, and just to make this nice and short, the following will give you a basic timeline of what the city has been going through with COVID over the last couple of years. There's copies available at the front for anybody from the public who was interested. It started, COVID was first detected back in 2019. In March of 2020, state of California and the city and the federal government all declared different forms of public emergency declarations, which were followed by several executive orders, which are briefly listed and also listed on your staff report. Tonight, we're here as COVID-19 and its impacts on communities and local medical systems have subsided. There's no longer need for that immediate declaration of emergency. So staff is here to request that the council deem the local emergency within the city due to COVID-19 that it no longer exists and adopt the resolution that was provided in attachment A. In addition, some deadlines that were not included in this timeline. I'm here to announce that earlier today, Governor Newsom issued a proclamation terminating the state's COVID-19 state of emergency, and that LA County will be considering something similar at their March 31st meeting. And I'm here to answer any questions.
Okay, really appreciate it, Kathleen. And I'd just like to start by saying, you know, this was something that we all went into together and were sort of forced into. And I can't say enough, and I know my colleague will agree, and representing the residents of Glendora, thanking the staff and the leadership at City Hall with what you guys did to get us through this. Some of the ideas that you came up with have been really outstanding. So kudos to city staff for getting us through this past 3 years. We are glad it's over, but thank you very much for that. So I'll bring it back to council for any additional questions. Michael? No?
The only thing I want to say is that, as Adam reminds us, that a lot of the items in the executive order are now for 2 years.
There are, so for clarity, Cal OSHA adopted an interim temporary standard. So that includes all places of business. There's a 2-year standard time frame where you have some workplace type of requirements, and those go into effect with various review dates. As for the actual state of emergency that ended, there is some debate on what the county's declaration of emergency public health will look like, if there's any real teeth to some of those orders or not. So employers, so if you and employees will still have ongoing requirements, but that will be in a workplace setting.
As I'm trying to say is there's legacies from the executive order. Thank you.
Any other comments?
To mark on your commendation to the staff, keep in mind early on, they spent endless hours trying to navigate what it all means. So not only, there was no simple task. So besides their creative solutions, just trying to navigate how to engage, how to play, what to do. Kudos, because that was no simple task. And I know there were many days that once they had it figured out, it changed in a minute. So that, all that work might have got tossed and start over. So thank you for that effort, and we're better for it.
I also think that, I feel like we should cheer this.
I think we should too.
So pick up your water bottle and cheers to the end of
to the
COVID
official end.
restriction timeline or whatever in 4 hours or something like that.
Did anybody else drink out of that water bottle?
No, this is only mine. Thank you.
Okay, do keep in mind, there were some good things that happened out of this. I mean, there are things like we all know how to wash our hands now, right?
Yeah.
We didn't know how to wash our hands 3 years ago. You can buy mixed liquor drinks and take them to go now. That law will stay in place. So there's some good things that came out of this
For medicinal.
for medicinal purposes only. Okay, with that, I guess, if there's nothing else, I'm looking for a motion. Do I have one? Of course I do.
There's a hair trigger at that end of the counter. You
Yeah.
notice that?
It really is.
Oh, I came from Karen. So we got a motion by Karen Davis, a second by Mendel Thompson.
I will now conduct an oral roll call vote. Councilmember Ellis,
Yes.
Councilmember Davis,
Yes.
Councilmember Freendahl,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Thompson,
Yes.
Mayor Boyer.
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0.
Okay, thank you. Item number 10, conduct a mid-year budget review and adopt a resolution amending the fiscal year 2022-23 budget. Kyle Johnson to report. Welcome, Kyle.
I guess next slide, please. So, hello, good evening, Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem and City Council members, and welcome to the middle of the agenda. And one of the most exciting parts of it, at least in my humble opinion. As was mentioned earlier, I've been told that I've expected to bring some levity to this budget discussion, so I whittled down my set list to a brief 45 minutes. So.
I have met his family. They're pretty normal.
So tonight we'll be walking through what it takes to do the mid-year review process. We'll discuss the general fund and Measure E, as well as other funds that make up the city finances, the next steps in the budget process, as well as staff's recommendations. I have to point somewhere on this. Right? All right. So it's essentially 4 parts for the mid-year budget review. The departments look at what they've done through the first 6 months of the year. Then they submit their review and their new requests to finance to review. After that, finance and the city manager meet with the departments to discuss those requests. And then the last part would be bringing it before the city council, like we're doing tonight, to get those requests and adjustments approved. There's a list on this slide that discusses some of the typical adjustments that are included with the mid-year. And these adjustments will create the basis for the next budget cycle. So here's a summary of the adjustments and where we were at before mid-year and where we're at after mid-year for the general fund and Measure E. Going forward with the creation of Measure E, the general fund and Measure E will typically show zero or very small net activity amount. And that's because Measure E balances the general fund and the Measure E also takes care of all the reserve policy transfers. So sending money to the capital projects fund, pension stabilization, as well as supporting our internal service funds. So here are the revenue adjustments for the general fund. It's approximately $7 million of revenue adjustments. The largest ones being transfers in. The asterisk one is from Measure E, and that's shows that the general fund it needs to be additionally subsidized for Measure E for a total of about $3.5 million. The other transfers are for a future property purchase out of the housing fund, as well as for CIP projects. Yeah. On the expenditure side, you can see that the transfers in go right back out. So it's for the property purchase out of the housing fund, CIP projects, and a contribution to the Section 115 OPEB and pension trust. So last calendar year, we brought to council to set up Section 115 trust for an additional mitigation action to protect us against the return on investment that CalPERS fluctuates on. I checked just today and they're at about 1% return on investment. And that's 1% where they still need to meet 6.8%. So it's roughly a 5.8% loss that would be reported to us. So they have to hit 6.8% in order for there to have basically no impact to our budget each year on their investments. Measure E is still performing very well in a critical revenue. We increased it by almost $1 million, just Measure E on its own. So people are still out there shopping Glendora. So on the expenditures, and this will be a theme throughout the presentation, there's a transfer out for $1.2 million to the housing fund for a future property purchase. So there will be multiple funding sources for this property purchase as we go through the presentation. The other transfers are the subsidy to the general fund, as well as meeting our general fund policy or reserve policy requirements. So we prepare three different financial forecasts, one for the general fund and Measure E, one where they're combined, and then two where they're on their own to help look into the future and see what's coming up. So this one combines Measure E and the general fund, and my eyes are definitely not getting better because I can't see that from here. But this is a high level overview of the combination showing the total revenues and then the transfers out, as well as capital projects that are funded from Measure E. Here, this one always likely shows slightly under the 45% reserve for the combination, just because Measure E gets completely wiped out at the end of the year. So there's no reserve there because it fulfills their general fund reserve policy transfers. Here's the general fund. It highlights the subsidy or the amount needed from Measure E to balance the general fund. But here we can see we meet our 45% contingency reserve goal for the general fund. And here's Measure E, and attached to this item on the agenda are all the full detail versions of these forecasts, and there are notes for every line item on all three forecasts. So some of the things that are future challenges for these forecasts are always CalPERS. That's going to come up every year. Their return on investments fluctuate from year to year, and we always have to account for something different with them. We have all the recently completed negotiations accounted for in these forecasts, just no future assumptions for anything that would be beyond the recent MOUs that have been approved. So nothing beyond 2026, I think, is the latest one. State and federal mandates, whether they're funded or unfunded, are always on the horizon, as well as infrastructure need for city facility improvements, as well as changes in the economy. Since coming out of COVID, we've gone into an inflationary environment, and it's still hovering in that area, but there's some discussions on maybe there's a recession, maybe that coming, maybe there isn't. So we'll find out together. So overall, general fund is in a good place, as well as Measure E. It's critical revenue. It helps us to maintain and in some cases enhance our services. It has also positioned the city to fund capital projects, stabilize our pension costs, and support our internal service funds. So we're moving now to the special revenue funds. These are all the funds where the money must be used for a specific purpose. There have been some decreases in gas tax and road maintenance and rehabilitation. So that's SB1. And that's based on analysis done by a industry expert that we use for those two funding sources to budget. We have increases for grants as well. So we get grants sometimes during the middle of the year, and we'll use mid-year as a way to budget for both revenues and expenditures on those grants. As it comes up again, there's an increase in the housing fund for a potential future property purchase. So going on to capital projects, the highlight of the evening, the adjustments are for the future purchase of a property in the housing fund. So we also, the water operations fund is on track with revenues and expenditures. So it includes some increases for expenditures, mostly around maintenance and repairs, and expand the scope of our conservation efforts. So as Adam mentioned earlier, we'll get some reports back on what the rainfall has done for us and snowfall, but it will be conservative and guess that we likely won't be out of our drought scenario or environment that we're currently in, even with all the rain. And then there's only one minor adjustment for water, the capital fund to an existing CIP for infrastructure improvements. We have forecasts for both the operating and capital funds for water as well. A lot of the same considerations go into there, CalPERS, any mandates. We have the operations highlighted here and summarized by rate components. The very bottom line ending balance, we have a 50% reserve requirement in the water fund as well. So we are meeting that. In order to meet that, it shows some reducing capital investment on the out years, but this forecast currently does not include any assumptions for the ongoing infrastructure assessment or rate study. So that will include those once that has been finalized and is brought before council. And that's also why you see like only $100,000 to $200,000 in the last 2 years of the forecast. All the previous years are based on the most recent 5-year amended CIP that ends 25-26. As I mentioned, CalPERS is a concern. It includes the most recent increase as well as a decrease of 6.1% that they had lost as of June 30, 2022. Doesn't include the infrastructure assessment or rate study as previously mentioned, and all the similar items to the general fund forecast. For our internal service funds, 2 adjustments. We are increasing for estimated claims. We've experienced more claims being filed than we anticipated at the beginning of the year. And then for the police vehicle fund, we have increased for the vehicle fund, we've increased for police vehicle purchases as well as contract services to maintain our fleet. So new with mid-year is our section 115 trust agency fund. So there are transfers out of the general fund and the pension stabilization fund to provide for contributions to both of these trusts as the additional mitigation efforts for unfunded liabilities related to both pension and OPEB. It's right now we've budgeted or request to appropriate $1 million for pension to contribute to our pension. $1 million for OPEB and $3.5 million for pension that we've set aside through our reserve policies. Here's a summary of our staffing changes that are included with mid-year. The first several of them are reclassifications where the top position is the one being added and then the subsequent position is the one being removed. There's a request to add a community services coordinator that will help grow participation in our contract classes as well as for related coordination of those classes, rentals and special events. And then we're going to add a position in in the Public Works Department to help coordinate efforts amongst all divisions in that department. So next steps are already underway. We've started working on the next 2-year budget for fiscal year 24 and 25. There's a deadline coming up next week for all the departments to get their requests or their budgets in for the next 2-year budget. It's all in the instructions. If you haven't read them, I recommend doing so. I've also put out videos if you prefer to watch instructions, they're there as well. We've gotten the budget award for our last 2-year budget. The letter is a Triple Crown Award because we got the award for our budget, our ACFRS, our audited financial statements, and our popular annual financial report, which is a summarized report for our audited financials. And these are all up on our city website, so we have them all up there for transparency. The 2 of the ones highlighted on the right of the slide are the budget in brief and the popular annual financial report, or PAFR. The budget in brief will go out in the utility bills once the budget's adopted, likely in sometime in August. And so that kind of concludes my presentation. The recommendation tonight is for City Council to award or to approve the mid-year review recommendations, and I'm available for any questions. I think I was under 45 minutes at the end of all this, which.
Yeah, you got it there. You have the ability to summarize that in a way that we can understand it in a relatively short time. We really do appreciate it. Bring it back. Any questions? Michael, go ahead.
Thank you, Gary. Thank you for the comedy hour. First off, Kyle, you talked about CalPERS is only returning to date 1%.
Yes, yeah.
And they have until June 30th.
June 30th is the real number. That will be relied on, but I without being able to look into their records, they had some large decrease from earlier this month. I looked at it like towards the beginning of this month and then today, and it was, what would it be? I think they're in the billions, so it'd be like 30 billion or something that it was a significant decrease. I was surprised based on how the markets are performing, to my knowledge.
That's deeply concerned. That's a big swing.
Yeah.
On your, we have available balance of 16,357,570, which is our 45% reserve. But actually your report says it's 47.1%.
Yeah, so it's slightly high. The reason we leave it, it shows a little higher there is for the transfer out. We've kept some back to be able to account for that movement because it's, I guess, money that's already there. It's an accounting step that we had to take in order, because the future years show 45% after we make that transfer.
That's a good thing.
Yeah.
Also on page 191, the 3rd bullet point, it says affordable housing property purchase.
Yes.
That's for specific properties. It's not necessarily a fund that we're going to keep on filling.
That's it's for specific purchase. Yeah.
Okay. And on the Measure E funds on page 194, do we have a listing of what we've done to date with some of the Measure E money?
So included in the budget in brief, as Kyle will share, and we talked earlier about the capital project. So Kyle, I'll jump in super quick. Not that we don't think you can handle it, but we don't have 45 minutes. So, Councilman, so we have a report card every year that goes out on Measure E that talks about the specific categories of expenditures as it relates to capital funds. As Kyle's presentation showed in the 5-year CIP, you saw millions of dollars a year going towards future discretionary capital projects. That's because of Measure E. So parks improvements that are going to go on at Finkbeiner, additional improvements associated with potentially Gladstone and Pompeii with shade structures that will be combined with other capital funds that we receive. Future discretionary projects, potentially council chambers or other facility improvements. The vehicle purchases this evening out of the general fund are all coming out of Measure E as well. So millions of dollars a year are both budgeted and already in progress for those types of capital, those tangible returns on the investment that our community's made.
Thank you for that. Last question I have is on page 194. It says that we're moving some Measure E money of $2.34 million into the general fund, but I thought you mentioned earlier it was over 3 million that we're moving into the general fund from Measure E.
Yes, it should be over 3 million. It should be over 3 million. I'd have
Unless
to-
I picked the wrong number, but
Yeah,
it's
I'd have to look.
2.34
I know
million.
I can pull up the number real quick. So
You are correct, Councilman. In the staff report, it specifically says $3.5 million. So
Yeah.
when Measure E was approved, the city was projecting a general fund shortfall of several $1,000,000 potentially with personnel costs. And so that is what that transfer is, to ensure that we didn't lose services, or that the community did not lose services.
yeah, so it increased from 2.6 to 3.5.
Okay, all right,
with
thank you.
mid-year.
Thank you.
Mendel?
Kyle, thank you. And thank you to the entire team for the amazing job that you guys have done. Really, really good. I kind of feel your pain. So for most of my life, I did this kind of stuff, or at least I helped, and it's a big job. I also want to say thank you to everybody that lives here and shops here, as you said.
Yeah.
With Measure E, that has been just a superb thing, knowing that that additional tax is staying here and doing the things that you have talked about. So every time that I see a Amazon truck, a brown truck, I go yay yay, because that's helping us do the things that we're going to talk about in just a bit. So thank you to staff, public, shopping here. Appreciate that. The only thing that I would argue that I think needs to be changed is your word good. I think it should be strong.
All right.
Because when I look at other folks that are around us, I won't say names, they are far less good or strong as I would say that we are. So I would encourage our team to maybe look at that and maybe replace the word good with strong, because I believe that we are exceptionally strong financially. I've never been a great fan of CalPERS, but if we're getting a 1% return in the market that we're in, they're actually doing pretty good. Kind of considering some of the political stuff that they have to deal with, and kind of the way that their board works. Pension, thank you for pointing that out, because for many years, and I know Karen was here during those years, pension was always kind of that point that nobody wanted to talk about, because it was always a big nut to crack. And I think we've done well there, and you're on top of that. So super job. And I just want to say thank you. And the public needs to know that we are very, very strong. And that's good to be, because we don't know what inflation is going to do, the recession is going to do. We don't know that. And we want to be able to continue to be strong and do everything that everybody wants us to, do. So the stewardship that staff has had has been really good. So thank you. Thank you, Mayor.
Thanks, Mendel. Karen?
Hey, Mendel, I want you to be sure that when those brown trucks and the other one with the little logo on it pulls up in front of your house, that you're still that excited. That's all I have to say. No, thank you very much, Kyle. You never disappoint. So we thank you for keeping it brief and entertaining. And thank you to everyone that helped to make this mid-year review possible. So thanks. Keep up the great work.
David?
Yeah, I echo that. Thank you for the great work, staff, the team, to keep us honest, legitimate, and very strong. So thank you.
Okay, thanks. I actually do have a couple of questions. First off, when it comes to gas tax, we've had a recent statewide gas tax increase. And then there's consideration about a, what do they call it, a gas tax, refund or vacation. With the newest gas tax that has been implemented, do we get part of that? Does any of that come back locally?
With SB 1 or just a general increase that occurs in normal gas tax?
No, the
SB 1 is the most recent voter approved initiative. Kyle can share about how it comes through.
But yes, we'll get part of it. It's I guess a complicated formula. Ultimately, I can't remember what you're saying. Over recent years, there was 1 year where they forgot to do a CPI increase. So now they've started doing those, and that's been part of the taxes that have been going forward. I think it's just been, I guess, less people were on the road. But even with the refund, my understanding is that they're still supposed to somehow keep the local agencies whole.
Kyle, suffice to say that at the state level, whatever revenue is provided, there's a specific calculation how it gets split up between the state, the county, and the local agencies. So if there is more revenue because of a higher tax, the city does benefit from that to some extent.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
And then could you just go into a little bit of detail on the OPEB and 115 trust fund?
Yes.
I think it's important to make sure people understand and actions that have been taken to protect us from some of these unknowns with CalPERS.
Yeah, so through the last calendar year, the finance department evaluated different providers of the Section 115 trust to come up with the PARS, who is our administrator. We evaluated a few different ones, and they came out to be the best one for the city. And so the reason for these 115 trusts is basically we are hoping we can put money in there, or the goal is to put money in there, and because they have more flexibility on their investments than we have per the state code, is to return a higher investment yield in that in those trusts that both we can do on our own through CDs and U.S. Agencies and treasuries, and that PERS can do. So, and then eventually what that does is that also restricts that money specifically for use on pension and OPEB. So, or other post-employment benefits. So that OPEB is if you have medical beyond retirement. That's what OPEB stands for.
And I would just add to that, do you mind talking a little bit about the flexibility if the city needed to cash immediately, that we could go in and out? You're gonna be in trouble soon. You see that?
Yeah. So yeah, if the city needed the cash, I mean, we can use it for any pension or OPEB expense. So if it's in the trust, we can use it for our normal costs. We can use it for our unfunded liability if we get one back. And then if we use the money in the trust for that then frees up money for other things that the city needs to do that are not trust or not pension or OPEB related.
And I would just add to that, the money that started the Section 115 trust, the city had been putting away. So the city council several years ago changed its reserve policy. So surplus at the end of the year, some went to capital, some went to reserve, and some went to future pension. The city council wisely asked staff to investigate ways for that money to be more useful and flexible. The IRS has a code section that allows for a better rate of return than we can do while still providing essentially a cash liquidity experience with that money. And that's what that Section 115 trust is.
Okay, appreciate it. And just to clarify, none of that money's at risk.
No.
Okay. That's it. I would ask for a motion, but there's one already on the screen in front of me.
Mayor, if I may, just real briefly, Mayor, before we go, just a special thank you to Kyle and Marie, who's back there. And I know Brittany and a lot of the other staff that work with all the departments. If you look through the estimations, what we've gone through in the past 2 years, the finance team has done a remarkable job of staying on top of revenues and expenditures, not just in the general fund, which we all care about because it's discretionary, but really all funds across the board. Mendel, you hit the nail on the head. Staff has done a remarkable job. The city remains in an incredibly strong financial position. Even in economic downturn, the city council has put policies in place that provides itself with a couple extra years to make a decision. All that said, finance is working hard to put in a new ERP system and new transparency and tools for the public, all while doing this. So from payroll, which Marie told me today, they're going to expedite that timeline to a new chart of accounts, which should be ready July 1st, it sounds like. So
yeah,
they're doing their normal job and then taking on a pretty incredible thing, which is replacing the city's financial and HR system all at the same time. So from all of us, we sincerely appreciate everything you do. We appreciate the jokes. Honestly, it's nice for a change. So, but just a big thank you for everything that they're doing.
Thank you.
With that, I've got a motion by Michael and a second by Mendel. Everyone would please vote.
I will conduct an oral roll call vote. Councilmember Ellis,
Yes.
Councilmember Davis,
Yes.
Councilmember Freendahl,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Thompson,
Yes.
Mayor Boyer.
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0.
Thank you. And one last comment, even though those trucks that are bringing things into town do help with our bottom line on our tax revenue, it's important to make sure that we still shop locally because that money continues to be recycled in the community. You buy something at a local retailer, they use that fund to call a local plumber and on and on and on. So please shop local when you have the opportunity. Next up, we got item number 11 to award a purchase order to Sunrise Ford and Collie Ford for the purchase of fleet vehicles in the amount of $862,000. Understand Equipment Maintenance Supervisor Steve Flores is here. Welcome, Steve.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I am Equipment Maintenance Supervisor Steve Flores, and I'm here to present to you about a vehicle replacement. First slide. Due to nationwide shortage in inventory and increasing back orders, it has been difficult to replace our fleet vehicles. In response to this, Public Works and Administrative Services staff met directly with dealerships to identify what vehicles they had on hand and what would meet current replacement needs. Because of this, we were able to negotiate favorable pricing for the city and with both Collie Ford and Sunrise Ford for Public Works, streets, parks, facilities, and non-patrol police vehicles. In total, the city is purchasing 6 F-250s, 2 F-350s, 1 F-150, and 1 Bronco Sport from Collie Ford, and 6 Rangers from Sunrise Ford. Staff sourced as many vehicles as possible from Collie Ford so that tax revenue stays within the city. That would meet the city's needs due to them being the local vendor, but they did not have the Rangers or suitable alternatives available at this time. They also indicated they wouldn't have any Rangers for this foreseeable future. Along with the Rangers and Mavericks being difficult to find nationwide due to high demand and low stock, police Interceptor Explorers are also very difficult to procure at this time, with narrow windows of availability. Because of this, Public Works staff are developing a vehicle replacement plan as part of the next 2-year budget and will develop a procurement plan based off of that. This will help ensure timely replacement of vehicles moving forward, and also that the city is receiving the best service and value. So the recommendation is that the city award a purchase order to Collie Ford in the amount of $626,000 and a separate purchase order to Sunrise Ford in the amount of $236,000. This is the end of my presentation.
Okay, appreciate it, Stephen. It's nice to keep it short and to the point. Anybody got any questions? Oh, no, David? No? Go, Michael.
Really quick. Who wanted the Bronco?
Water conservation.
Can we go along for a ride?
I don't see why not.
Was there any consideration for any of the EV trucks since we're putting in our own EV infrastructure?
Currently, there are none available. We did look for EV Mavericks or hybrid Mavericks and hybrid Escapes, but right now it's all just naturally aspirated.
And all these are going to be driven locally here.
Correct, for the most part.
Right. Thank you. That's all.
Okay, thanks. Anything else? Okay, I am looking for a motion. And when my screen's up, I guess I'll have one. Okay, you guys are on the ball this time. Motion by Karen and a second by David. Ask everybody to vote. Yeah.
All right, so I'll conduct an oral roll call vote. Councilmember Ellis,
Yes.
Councilmember Davis,
Yes.
Councilmember Freendahl,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Thompson,
Yes.
Mayor Boyer.
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0.
Okay, thanks, Steve.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Have a good night.
Okay, next, item number 12, award a contract for Finkbeiner Park tennis and pickleball court improvements. Phase 1, plan number 1365.1 to NoHo Construction in the amount of $295,830. Civil engineer Malia Ansari is here. Good evening, Malia.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, council members. Tonight, I'm presenting the report for the award of the contract for Finkbeiner Park Tennis and Pickleball Court Improvements Phase 1, Plan number 1365. To NoHo Constructors in the amount of $295,830. So in response of the vandalism to the restrooms in Finkbeiner Park, City Council approved amending the CIP to include the renovation of the restrooms in Finkbeiner Park, improvement of the playground equipments, picnic areas, and the tennis courts. The project is divided into 2 phases, considering the material procurement for the restrooms and playground equipments. Phase 1 is converting the existing 2 tennis courts to 1 tennis court and 4 pickleballs, and also resurfacing the rest of the court area, including improving the drainage in the court areas, some curb ramps. Phase 2 improvements will be the playground improvements, picnic areas, turf replacement, parking lots, and improved drainage. The restrooms are underway and are done by the city staff, and to reduce or keep the budget within our available funds. For phase 1 project, bid opening was done on December 29th. 3 responsive bids were received. Engineer estimate was $350,000, 550 bids range from $295,830 to $390,000 even. Award to NoHo Constructors being the lowest responsive bidder. A little bit. So for the whole Finkbeiner Park renovation, the approved budget from Measure E is little over $1.5 million. City hired Wilden Engineering to do the design. That phase is completed, and phase 2 is 95% completed. Total design cost of Finkbeiner Park renovation is $116,489, considering the project construction cost for phase 1 contingencies. Total project cost is going to be $442,329, leaving over $1 million for phase 2 improvements. Tonight, staff is requesting recommendations to the City Council is adopt a categorical exemption from the California Environmental Quality Act pursuant to Section 15301C of the California Code of Regulations. Approve the plan and specifications for Finkbeiner Tennis and Pickleball Court Improvement Phase 1, Plan number 1365-1. Award the contract for Finkbeiner Park Tennis and Pickleball Court Improvements Phase 1, Plan number 1365-1 to NoHo Constructors in the amount of $295,830. Authorize the city manager or his designee to execute the agreement with NoHo Constructors, including minimal and or non-substantive changes, and authorize the Public Works Director to execute any necessary change orders in an amount not to exceed 10% of the original contract amount. This concludes my presentation, and I'm available for any questions.
Okay,
Thank
Malia, thank you very much. Appreciate the information. Bring it back to council. Any questions, comments? No, Karen?
I was just going to ask about the projected timeline.
At this time, after award, we will contract the NOHO constructors, and they are pretty eager to start, and we are not forcing too much material, it is just coat resurfacing, some paint, some net fencing. So the estimated construction time will be 30 days, and material availability and start, it's still undecided and weather dependent as well.
Thank you.
No? Michael? No? Okay. Looks like we have a motion by Michael and a second by David. Ask everybody to vote.
I'll conduct an oral roll call vote to approve all 5 of the recommendations that are on the agenda. So Councilmember Ellis,
Yes.
Councilmember Davis,
Yes.
Councilmember Freendall,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Thompson,
Yes.
Mayor Boyer,
Yes.
motion carries 5-0.
And Malia, just so you know, my grandson bought us pickleball rackets and balls for Christmas last year. So we're looking forward to this.
It is getting very popular, and Dawson Avenue Teen Center facility, we are almost ready to have the pickleball courts
All good.
over there, and it will be by end of March, hopefully. Again, it is delayed because of weather.
Wow.
Yeah, the Glendora Pickleball Facebook group is now up to 528.
Wow.
So it is very popular.
We
so-
may need new courts already.
Yes.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, next up, we got item number 13, award a contract to Horizons Construction Company International for an as-needed asphalt maintenance repair services in the amount of $508,970 per year for 3 years, and civil engineer Malia Asari. Again,
Thank you.
Thank
Good
you.
morning, good evening again. Okay, so this is presenting award as needed asphalt maintenance and repair services contract in the amount of $508,970 per year for 3 years contract. So to start with, Glendora has over 30 million square foot of asphalt concrete pavement and 155 center line miles of asphalt pavement. As we know that asphalt concrete pavement deteriorates over time due to weather, age, load combinations. In order to maintain our infrastructure, localized spot repairs help to preserve the surrounding pavement and the failing pavement, and that extend the pavement life. And also another thing, our water main, when they leak, it will damage the pavement. So we, city staff and city resources were not enough to answer or help for that need. So this is the maintenance contract that the city will be getting the contractor help to do the as needed asphalt pavement in a timely manner. So there will be 3 potential type of repairs or scope of work. And in our bid, we did it very clearly. One is the slurry seal, that is for just when there are very minor cracks, so that will preserve the pavement. Other is grind and overlay, that comes mainly with the water main trench repairs. And the third one is the full depth reconstruction when the pavement is failing, and to to contend that failing pavement and to make sure that it is not progressing to the adjacent. So our bid or the way contract is done have 3 different items that take care. So we can go and specify when we are awarding that contract or work order. To get the maintenance contractor on board, proposals were received on February 10th, 2022. At that time, 4 responsive proposals were received. Proposals range from $376,810 to $3,490,000. There was not enough budget, so in the mid-year budget, we got it budgeted, and after that, staff approached Horizon Construction Company again. Because of the raised material and the labor cost, Horizon submitted a revised proposal in the amount of $508,970 based on, and that covers on significant inflation. This amount was still less than the second lowest bidder, the proposal that we received in February 2022. After evaluating the revised proposal and comparing it with the current market rates, staff found it in very reasonable limits. For this year, award of contract will be February 28, 2023. Contract duration is 3 years that can be extended to 2 more years with council approval. For the 2023 budget will be prorated budget. Available funding is $250,000, and for rest of the 4 months, we have enough budget to start with our repairs. And for upcoming 2023 to 25 2-year budget, staff will do the request for in the amount of $559,867, maybe $560,000 even. The recommendations to the City Council are adopt a categorical exemption from the California Environmental Quality Act pursuant to Section 15301C of the California Code of Regulations. 2, award the contract to Horizon Construction Company International for as needed asphalt maintenance and repair services in an amount of $508,970 with a 10% contingency in the amount of $50,897 for a total amount of $559,867 per year for 3 years. Authorize the city manager or his designee to execute the agreement with Horizon contractors, including minimal or more substantive changes. Authorize the Public Works Director to execute any necessary changes in order change orders in an amount not to exceed 10% of the original contract amount. Thank you. This concludes my presentation.
Okay, Malia, thank you very much. Bring back to council for questions. Michael, go.
Thank you, Malaya. Can you expand on why the quotes were so far apart, the bids?
This is a good question, and I will say that 14 companies or contractors pulled the bid, and those were outrageous. Like 3.49 million is way out, but this may be some mistake on my side, I have to say. And no, that was 3.49 million. That is All American, big contractor. We don't have any good reasoning, and usually we don't go out and check on that.
So my other question is on your report, there's a spot repairs. Does that also include potholes?
And the potholes, we do it by our city staff. This is mainly done for the water main trench. We have big water leaks and that end up in trench work and our sometime on major streets where we don't have enough traffic control set up. So that will really help for those trench repairs. Pothole, we at this time, our goal is to do through our city staff.
Okay, all right.
But there is some bigger street celery seal where we can see that by doing those preventive measures, we can preserve our pavements. That is the goal for this as it says, maintenance contract.
Okay, thank you for that, for clarification. That's all the questions I have.
Anyone else? I've got a couple of questions and between reading the staff report and what we discussed here tonight, first off, the proposals from 376,000 to $3.5 million. Was that for the entire 3-year contract or was that per year?
Per year.
That was per year. And then we announced that Horizon was the lowest bidder at $508,000 per year. But we're showing that we had bids from 376,000.
Correct. That was in February 2022. It's almost a year. So and for our budgeting, the staff waited for the mid-year budget when it was approved. Then we started the award of the maintenance contract. And at that time, we went back to the contract, like in this case, the lowest responsive bidder, that what if they are still agreeing to provide us the services and if there's any change in the price.
Okay.
So Horizon gave us a contract and all the backup documents that justifies it is almost 35% increase in their contract price, and that matches with the market prevailing material prices, labor prices, and other indexes which are available in the market for the highway and road and highway construction.
Okay, appreciate that explanation. And it's important for the public to know about, we're dealing with this on a regular basis, things that we talked about doing a year ago are dramatically higher and today than they were then. So I appreciate the presentation. We have a motion by Michael, a second by Mendel. Ask everyone to please vote.
So I will conduct an oral roll call. Councilmember Ellis.
Yes.
Councilmember Davis.
Yes.
Councilmember Freendall.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Thompson.
Yes.
Mayor Boyer.
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0.
Okay, thank you. Well, that brings us to the end of our agenda items. Bring it back to council members for closing statements. Michael?
Yeah, so to close on a positive note, and this was brought to me this evening earlier, and I challenge everybody to go to Google and type in is the city of Glendora friendly city. And it says from Google, it says Glendora is a great place to raise a family, and the residents are extremely welcoming. You can find excellent restaurants, plenty of parks and hiking trails. It's a nice, clean city to live in. So I thought I'd close on a positive note.
Okay, appreciate it. Mendel, I think. David?
Yes, I'd like to request that as a follow-up in our community preservation programs, we did a process some time ago for alleyway ordinances and asked that we agendize soon a follow-up report on the success or maintenance or progress and action plans of how that's going. If we may do so.
Are you looking for a second?
Love one if we.
You have it.
Thank you.
I think we already agreed to put that on the agenda. It's coming the second meeting in March.
I think so, yes.
Thank you.
Great. Karen? No? Okay, well, I would just like to remind everybody before we all see you again, March 10th, you stop at Empty Bowls for your bowl of soup before you travel down to Trivia in order to make a fool out of yourself. On Saturday, you go to the village for wine walk so you can forget about how foolish you were. Sunday morning, you get up, you join us all for the crop walk to walk off all of the sins you had of the last few days. So looking forward to all of that. The city always has a lot to offer, and it's exciting to see spring right around the corner. And as much as we appreciate the rain, I think we've had enough. Okay, Adam, anything?
Just a quick reminder, the items on the, you heard this evening, so Finkbeiner Park starts soon. Mita Avenue improvements will begin underway shortly, so you'll be seeing some work in the village as well. So just keep in mind that, you know, a lot of the money the council's put in the CIP is finally starting to come to fruition. So we look forward to those changes.
Appreciate it. Bill, anything to add? Thank you. With that, I will adjourn our meeting tonight in memory of Beverly Colley at